everyone. Welcome to Talk of the Town. We're live tonight. My name's Karen Bukes. Welcome and thank you for tuning in. Let's say hello to some of our underwriters. First up, Cape Auto Body and Cape Service, located right here in Plymouth. Wonderful, wonderful people that run that. That's David and Kevin Gallerani. They take care of your car beautifully, and I recommend them highly. One Stop Painting. They were at the house today. We did the deck over, and it's beautiful. They do excellent job, wallpapering, painting, whatever you need, gutters, your roof in the winter. Jeff Cohen, that's One Stop Painting. Brewster, PC Solutions with Wrestling Brewster. He knows computers and he knows how to fix them, and your printer. And our newest sponsor, that would be Dick Quintal and the Dick Quintal Farmers Market right there at Scooby Circle up by the Plymouth Industrial Park off of Cherry Street, and it's indoors. So any Saturday and Sunday you could go there and get fabulous fresh fruit and vegetables. And he has other yummy things, some Portuguese foods and breads, and it's a wonderful place to go, and you know you're getting the best of everything. That's Saturday and Sundays, and I believe that's from 9 to 5. And go there and say, "Hi, Dickie, how are you?" And he'll be happy to talk with you and give you great stuff. Now tonight, my guest also happens to be a dear friend, he and his wife. And he also happens to be an author, an excellent writer, and he lives right across from Ken and I, right across from the brook. And please welcome, we call him Stan the Man Standley. Welcome, Stan.
Hi.
Hi, Stan. Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
A little aside that you should know that I offered Stan to be here last winter, December, I believe it was. And Stan was all set to come in, I believe it was March. And we got caught up in what happened to Kenny. And I had to go through the list. And the list is long because I have a AAA personality, so I book it out. And finally, I get Stan here tonight, and his lovely wife is watching, Bobby, who I've adored since we've moved in. So, Stan, you're still busy writing, but first, I'd like the people to know a little bit about your background, which is extensive.
Well, Karen, I was born in Alvin, Texas. I grew up in, that's the same town that Nolan Ryan's from. I was in junior college and a Navy recruiter showed up, and next thing I knew, I was on my way to Pensacola, Florida, went through flight training, went to the West Coast, flew Navy helicopters there, and then back and forth different places, all well, several places in the world, as well as several carriers, Apollo recoveries, which were very interesting. I finally retired, and after that I looked around, shopped around for something that was unique, and actually ended up at the nuclear power plant here. I worked at Bartlett Nuclear also, and then I retired from Pilgrim and on the 13th of December of 13.
How do you like retirement?
It's a lot of hard work.
It is.
Work was a lot easier.
Yeah.
But then I have help with certain people keep finding things for me to do. So yeah, I keep busy.
Kenny always said that when he, oh boy, I'm going to retire, and found himself more busy than he was when he worked.
Well, it's good when you think about it. You can make your calendar, you just put the month on it, and every day's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know, it's a weekend every day.
Right.
The only thing you have to remember is which day the dump is open. Outside of that, it's pretty straightforward.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear you call it the dump. I mean, there are certain habits we have. It's like when I say about, the hospital, I call it Jordan.
I do too. I can't stop.
Yeah, I can't stop.
I can't remember the name anyway. I think it has something to do with age.
Yeah, but you know, you used a lot of your background experience for your books, and you know, especially the helicopter parts. And
Well, it's funny. You have two camps that are reading the books. You have the people who want the love story, and then you have usually the guys, not always just guys, who want the flying stuff, especially scary stuff or dangerous stuff. Yep, they eat that up.
and what surprised me, Stan, is how romantic you are. You know, you don't look it, but who does? And you were very romantic in your books, the husband and wife scenes, and it showed a side of you that I didn't even know, knowing also that you're married to one of the most beautiful women in the world.
Bobby, are you taking this in?
Yeah, and of course, you know, putting two to two together. But to read how you weave that in was quite intriguing to me and quite beautiful. But let's talk about your first book.
Well, we started raising Weimaraners, and we actually got into the show ring eventually, and so our weekends were usually shot because we were at a dog show anywhere from, well, the East Coast, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania. And funny things happen at dog shows. Some of them embarrassingly funny, others just plain funny. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot of things that you could do better. And then one day, the person that's actually showing the dog says, you're going to have to take Blade into the ring yourself. And you know, I was in the ring for 11 minutes and I cannot remember anything.
Nothing?
And Bobby was taping it, except she didn't hit record. She just watched it.
Oh.
And I couldn't wait to get home from Bangor, Maine, so that I could see how I did. Of course, there was nothing on there.
Oh.
But we learned all these things the hard way.
Yeah.
Our breeder would say, never teach a dog to track. You don't want to show dogs putting their head down to the ground, you know, when they're supposed to go around the ring. So, oh, well, then you don't want to know what we've taught her to do then. So, and on and on. At some point in time, though, we ended up with 3 Weimaraners.
I remember.
Now, one of the dogs was a hunter. The other one was just a good-looking dog, and the other one was just crazy. We called her Ava Bin Laden because she was a terrorist, and she left her mark on our house in many places.
Didn't she eat the food right off? I mean, no matter what you did, she was able.
Hildy was
Hildy.
She was the mother. She was the matriarch. She ran the dogs. She stole a steak one time, and we taught all of our dogs, I will take food out of your mouth and you won't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Not that steak.
No.
I was in the other room. She took it off the counter, and it was hers because she found it. She killed it or whatever. It was hers.
Yeah.
And she would look me in the eye. You can kill me, but yeah, I'm not letting go of this steak.
Yeah.
I got it, and I said, honey, you want to eat the steak? She goes, no, let the dog have it.
Yeah, of
But
course.
so anyway, we were telling people, we did some of the training out at the power plant, and because you had a variety of people, they like dogs, and you have to teach a dog to walk in a certain position, and you had a lot of long walls there along the walkways. Mm-hmm. So they were pretty much at ease with just about anybody. And time went on, and at some point in time, as we got into the shows, everybody wanted to know how Hildy did or how Blade did. And so we'd tell them, and that was usually on a Monday morning. So somebody said, this stuff is so funny, you ought to write it down. So the Weimaraner Club of America has a magazine called Weimaraner Ways. And so I put 3 stories in. They published those, and someone that lives in our house said, you ought to write a book on that.
Yes.
And I laughed it off and thought about it and said, why not? So I did, and I started back from a horrible experience when I was in high school. And from there, it was pretty much what happened. Fast forward, now I'm retired from the Navy. I'm working at a nuclear power plant, and we have these 3 dogs, and that's where the chaos had begun. And the reason it's called Paw Prints All Over Me, and literally You may not be able to see this because there may be glare on it, but I'll show you how cheap I was. That's me in that picture. That's Hildy jumping up on me. She's actually trying to get a treat out of my mouth, and there are fake paw prints, of course, across the front of the cover and also on my shirt. Bobby and I were getting ready to go out to eat, and she put on a white blouse. Hildy came in from outside, reared right up on her, and Bobby said, "Well, I got to change my clothes. I've got paw prints all over me." And there was the title.
There was the title.
Title of the book. And
if you feel like it, would you tell us what that awful experience was when you were in high school?
I think I was in the 11th grade, and our dog, Buster, that was the first and only dog I'd ever had in my life. Buster was my best companion. We had red wolves there in South Texas, and they'd come up and steal chickens. Well, Buster was brave as long as you walked out at night when he started barking at the wolves. If you walked out with him, he was the meanest dog in the world, but if you stopped, he was back and hiding behind me. He disappeared and didn't come back for 2 days. When he did come back, okay, he was missing one eye. Part of his jaw, cheek area was gone. He was in bad shape. We lived on a farm, and you don't use a vet very often. My mother walked back in her bedroom, came out, handed me a pistol, and said, "You know what to do." I'm already dressed for school. So I walked out and walked to the place, I guess you would call it. And Buster stopped, looked up at me, and then turned his head away like he knew what was happening. And it took both hands to hold that pistol. And that was probably the worst day of school I ever had, because it was just, it's just something I'd never done before.
I can't imagine, but you had to do it, and you went to school.
I went on to school.
You went on to school.
Well, you weren't allowed to miss school. I mean, what do you say? I had to shoot a dog.
But you had wonderful experiences with the whiners, and they were very, very intelligent breed.
Yeah, they were smarter than we were. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Ava, we kept one puppy from one of Hildy's litters. Ava didn't experiment on how to learn how to do things. She watched either Blade or Hildy, and then she went over and did the exact same thing. So her learning curve was incredible.
Yeah.
And Hildy was our psychiatrist. When I come home from work, she'd meet me, stand up on her hind legs and touching the back of the couch, and she would look at me, and she'd read my mind, my mood, if you want to call it that, and as soon as she made me laugh, then she'd go on about her business. Blade, he's just a big dopey guy that just would come up, and if you ask him something, he'd just go, "Durr," and lay in your lap. That was pretty much it. He looked good, but not a lot of substance there. Ava was Bobby's dog. If I even raised my voice, Ava went to Bobby and stood beside her or behind her. Weimaraners, as a surprise, are very defensive dogs. They start off owning one room of the house, and then pretty soon the whole house, and then the yard, and then the street in front of the house, and anybody that trespasses in that area is going to get barked at. But all you had to do was say, "Hello, Hildy," and she'd drop off the fence and go.
We never really heard the dogs bark. I mean, they were very good dogs.
They really were. They just, they don't live long enough. Purebred dogs, 10 and a half years is, anything after 10 years is gravy. Hildy was 10 years, 6 months. Blade was 10 years, 6 months. Ava was 10 years and 1 week.
Oh.
And they all had to be put down for different, separate reasons.
It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking.
Well, we adopted one other dog, or adopted a dog finally, and she had to be put down. She had been neglected all of her life, and we thought we could make her life wonderful. And for 2 or 3 months, she had a really good life. After that, we just said, no more dogs.
Get a kitty.
And we became cat people. Yeah. I always thought cats were another form of dog food. Not a good thing to say sometimes.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm going to hear about that, aren't I?
Do you still have your cat?
We got a different one.
Oh, you have a different one. Yeah.
Yeah. The
And,
neighborhood cats adopt us. Go figure.
oh, yeah. Well, because you're animal people, you know. Yeah. What's the name of your cat?
Tuxedo,
Tuxedo, black and white?
black and white, got the vest, everything,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Looks sharp, he's smart, big.
Big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And funny.
And funny.
Yeah. He just does funny
Cats
stuff.
are funny.
I've always thought so.
Yeah, no, they are. And you can torture a cat. No, no, I would never.
Yeah.
But Kenny and I won't get another pet because of putting,
That's right.
it's too heartbreaking.
It is. I never thought that cats outlived dogs, but I was really
They
surprised
do.
to find out. And mixed breed dogs that have street smarts,
Yeah.
they tend to live longer. Smaller dogs live longer.
Well, our Lucky lived almost 18 years.
Wow.
A month shy, I believe, or 3 or 2 weeks shy of that, and it was just awful, just awful. Can't go through it again. But so that is Paw Prints All Over Me, and on Amazon.
Amazon.com. It's
Yeah.
also on buy books on the web or Infinity Publishing.
Yes,
And
and it's funny. And it's really has a lot of heartwarming, wonderful stories in it, and I have that on my desk.
the thing that's unusual about that book is it's written from my point of view. It's on hunting tests, that type of thing. You're walking with me on this hunting test. Obviously, you're not seeing anything, but hopefully I'm describing it well enough that you see what I'm going through. And those of you who used to watch Magnum P.I., he would say, the little voice told me. And I had that little voice talking to me quite a few times.
Right.
But it was fun.
You writing is a compulsion, and those who do it have to do it. And today I was writing all day, and it's one of those things that you just have to get out. And so you went from Paw Prints All Over Me to Fate.
Fate, 7 Days in January. That's this book right here.
I so enjoyed that book.
Well, this was my first attempt at writing dialogue. Dialogue
Not easy.
is hard.
Yep.
I had to go through and pick characters by name, but I also had to use people from my hometown, people I worked with. Certain people talk different ways. Some never use prepositions. They say I cannot.
Yeah.
Others say can't.
Yeah.
Some have good grammar, some have poor, some has horrible accents. Some you just sit there and listen to them all day because they just sound good.
And you have to hear their voice in your head.
Yes.
And it's uncanny how that happens.
And you have to say, and how does he say that? How would he say this? He's never been in this situation. How would he say it? And you do that.
Yeah.
And the more characters you have, the more you've got to sit there and say, I got to separate this person from
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah.
And you got to have the likable people, the wonderful people, and at least one villain.
You have to have a villain.
At least one.
Yeah.
Maybe a love interest, that might be good. Maybe the police get involved, maybe the military get involved. But in Fate, 7 Days in January, it's a story about a young couple. They just gotten married. Their boss sends them out to Hawaii for a few days. And let's just say that they're planning a nice quiet place and everything went fine until his boat, he loaned them his boat, and the boat exploded. But they weren't on it. They happened to be somewhere else. It seems that someone else had borrowed the boat for a little while. And the borrowers are a little bit of a surprise. And what happens to them is another surprise.
The whole book is full of surprises.
Yeah, well,
that's what was so wonderful about the book.
Well, the funny part is when the Navy gets involved in part of this, it's a Coast Guard issue and then it's a Navy issue. And the Navy portion was actually from my own experience, but But I
Of
couldn't bear the
course.
thought of putting my name in there, so I didn't do it that way.
No.
And so it's kind of hard to tell it, the story. You know it, and I had all my notes and everything from that one particular flight.
But you do, there's one scene in there, you describe it so well, the rescue and how the helicopter on the mountain and all of, I mean, you had to have the weather. You had to have the minutest details on that, and one understands that you know how to fly a helicopter.
Well, I have never come close to having a mid-air collision before, but the first one I almost had was with a deer.
With a deer.
That axis deer that jumped up when we came up that ridge line
Oh,
and leveled off.
yes.
And we woke him up and he jumped
Yes.
right in front of us.
Right in front.
And the Army Mountain Rescue Team in the back of the helicopter saw it, and my co-pilot saw it, I saw it. I like to never got it back down, and we were in fog, so that made it even more interesting because we had higher terrain around us, trees, and it was, don't hit anything.
How did you get the woman's dialogue? How did you get her voice? And how did you, you know, because you describe her so well and you're very tender toward her.
You mean Kate?
Kate, a name I love.
Kate had to be, I think I describe her as one of those California bombshells who just happens to be a brunette.
Yeah.
And she was a sweetheart. Everything about her was wonderful, charming. You just loved her. Everybody loved her. She was just that perfect person.
Yeah.
And she didn't date because she was smarter than almost everybody she met. So they would get scared off, and then I won't say dirt bags, but the less than honorable guys would come a-courting, and she just wouldn't have anything to do with them. And then out of the clear blue, out comes Mr. Right.
Yeah.
She goes on one blind date in her life and ends up marrying the guy.
That's how it happens.
And
but how did you sit there and you fashioned her, you created her in your mind? Did it come out naturally?
Actually, it did. Bobby and I trade stuff back and forth constantly. I mean, it's just, if you came over sometimes you'd think we're having a fight or we were really upset with each other, and we are just picking on each other constantly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way they were. If you remember, she threw a shoe at him once, and he threw something that she had over the side. I'm sorry, she ran forward and threw.
Yeah.
No, he threw her shoe.
But it never lasted long, and they always felt terrible about it.
Yeah.
But it was not. It wasn't violent or anything.
No, nothing like that. It was just fun things. It was funny things. Hey, you pick on me, I'll pick on you.
Playful.
I'm running the boat right now.
Yeah.
Watch your step.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good. The give and take went back and forth, and I've known a lot of people like that. I've known a lot of couples, and I just borrowed from all of that and came up with it. And in fact, once in there, I actually called, instead of writing Kate's name down when I was doing the original portion of it, I called her by the name of the person that I was using or modeling Kate after.
Yeah.
Well, the give and take part, not the looks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was tough. And then ironically, I sent the book off. Proofreading's tough.
It is.
You either get a professional proofreader or you proof it yourself and you get 90% of the errors. Then you proof it again and you get 90% of the remaining errors, and you go on, but you never get it down to no errors.
Right.
So I sent it to my middle sister, and she's a detail person, so she sat down with it and sent me back half a dozen pages of things that needed to be fixed. And some of those were right. I use that. There's the guy that. That's the way I talk. Correctly, that's the guy who. Well, she pointed the that part out. Well, in dialogue.
No, in dialogue is different.
It doesn't matter.
That's why. When you write dialogue, it is in the vein of how a person would speak. That's why when people write speeches, you have to know your subject, who is speaking, so the cadence is right.
Yeah.
And you have to know their personality. So it's totally different.
Well, then you get into another problem. Okay, in Fate 7 Days in January, I said that the boss's boat exploded. If you work at a nuclear power plant and you go on the web and you start looking up high explosives,
Uh-oh. No, you can't do that.
not a good thing. Yeah, oh, you can. You can. So when I finally realized the error of my ways, I went out to the plant and said, hey, I want to look at the explosives manual.
Yeah.
Well, that got raised some eyebrows also. Why is that? I said, well, I need to blow a hole in a boat.
Oh.
So
Stan.
anyway, so then I had to explain what I was doing. So
Yeah.
okay, so I got that right, and I was criticized because if you remember the explosion when that timer clicked,
Oh, yeah.
remember that fuse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of research, and I did not know how fast that explosion traveled outward. It travels at 17,000 miles per hour, which is the same speed it takes to orbit around the Earth and sustain your orbit.
Really,
Didn't know
Stan?
that. And
I don't think many people would.
no,
Wow.
certainly weren't going to outrun it, especially if you're on that boat.
Wow.
But yeah, the research is always tough.
Now, when that book ended, I was sorry to see it end.
But, well, because
Yeah, they left it hanging.
I left a lot of things hanging. That's funny. And
How
right
could you do that? I said to you. Oh,
I got the same call from my sister.
yeah,
What did you do with those boys?
I know.
And so I said, don't worry.
They'll show up.
There'll be a sequel. And so
Yes.
here's the sequel. Unfortunately, I didn't write that right after I finished 7 Days in January.
No, this took how long after? A year?
Oh, at least 2 years probably.
2 years.
Because I went straight to
Oh, that's
I
right.
went to the Shaman's Legacy.
The Shaman's Legacy. Now, the Shaman's Legacy, I don't know if they can get all that.
Put it down on the table.
Put it down on the table. The Shaman's Legacy. Isn't he beautiful?
This is a story that starts off years and years ago. It's a Sioux or a Lakota son of a medicine man. His name is Howling Wolf, and he was named that because of the way he came. I believe his words were, "I did not come into the world quietly." And he is the son of the medicine man for this particular tribe, and he knows things. He just picks things up. He doesn't want to go play with the other kids. He's 4 years old, 5 years old. He's doing stuff with herbs and that type of thing, and interested
He had the
in
gift.
everything. He had a gift.
He had a gift.
And he gets a little older, and he has to go on his vision. And while he's having this vision, an eagle comes to him. The golden eagle is sacred. And in this dream, the eagle picks him up and carries him to Chicago, the white man's city of Chicago. And he witnesses a little boy with a slingshot kill a bird. And the little boy walks over, picks up the bird, holds it up by one leg, and is looking at it, and then suddenly looks up at the sky, and he's looking right at Howling Wolf. And he smiles and then pretends to shoot him with the slingshot. And the eagle immediately turns and flies away, but Howling Wolf knows he's going to see that kid again. And he wakes up, and he doesn't know if he's had a dream, if that was real. He just knows he's thirsty. He gets back into camp, and his father is thrilled because he said, "You died and returned to life. You can speak to the spirit world. You are a shaman or shaman, and you will do great things for our people." And then it skips back, goes into the Dust Bowl area in the Kansas, Oklahoma, parts of Texas had trouble during the Dust Bowl, and everything was going to pot. Farmers were losing their farms.
That was in the 30s?
In the 30s,
Yep.
yes. And this is just after coming out of the Great Depression,
Yep.
so people are in bad shape. And he goes on another quest, but this time he's an old man. He's in his 90s. And he is befriended by a couple. They save his life, and they learn from him, and and then the strange things start to happen.
Oh, and
He-
they
he-
are.
He builds 5 dream catchers. They're special. Dream catcher, basically, for those of you who don't know, it's a round circle, which is the circle of life. It's held together by a web or a thread, and it's woven so that there's a hole in the middle. You hang this over your bed, and it will catch your good dreams, but your evil dreams will go through the hole, and they're gone forever. Howling Wolf puts a curse on a hitman that's come to kill him due to the fact that he owns a piece of property that the guy needs because he's buying up real estate really cheap. And he tries something he's never done before. He's a good man, but he wants to make sure this guy does not get away with this dream catcher. So he puts a curse on it. Well, what he didn't realize was he put a curse on all 5 dream catchers.
No, and then you had to read this book in the daytime.
I've heard that more than once. I know an individual I worked with, he had a dream catcher on the mirror of his pickup truck, and he took it off
Yeah.
after he read the book.
So 5 dream catchers now have this curse, and
Right.
they end up.
They kill, and they grow stronger. And there's the good side and there's the bad sides. There are old eagles that are old, one old eagle that is old as time itself. And then there are lesser eagles that are, I guess you would say, like they're the marshals of various parts of the United States and the Indian lands. And they keep an eye on these disturbances in nature's way. And so they can follow these dream catchers, but the dream catchers learn.
Yes.
And we finally get up to modern day,
Oy.
and there's 2 left, and they find one,
And
one's missing.
one's missing.
And that's the one that
Ends up.
yeah. But it's changed then. It's not just a dream catcher. It's a dream catcher.
I mean, it thinks for itself.
Yes.
And Stan, I'm itching now. Are you going to write a sequel to this one? Because this is the one. It's got to go on because the way it ended.
Well, I'm going to write a sequel if I have time. The research
Yeah.
I have to do now is extremely hard because it involves the White House.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a lot of research.
Because they hung one dream catcher over the baby's crib. And that freaked me.
Yeah.
It freaked me.
And you caught the part where the feather touched the baby?
Yeah, the feather touched the baby.
And
who does that baby
And the baby
grow
gained
up
a
to?
little teeny bit. And
Yeah.
Dreamcatcher lost a little bit of its mass. And
Yeah,
he's the grandson of the President of the United States.
yeah.
And he can give his mother a headache if she starts to talk about how he's strange. He just looks at her, she gets a headache until she changes her mental subject.
You know, Stan, you are a complex man.
Bobby will tell you that.
You have an imagination unbelievable.
Oh, I think it's perfectly normal.
It is, it is. And I love it because this too was my favorite. I mean, and I had to read certain paragraphs over just to make it sink in. And I would read this book again because it was that entertaining.
That's the one. That's the one I think would make an excellent movie.
I think you're right. I think you're right
Just-
on that.
I mean, it's got everything. In it.
Everything. It's not so horrific that it would be classified as a Halloween movie. It's more intricate and more thoughtful than that. It is really, I'm amazed at this one.
Well, and the time span. I mean, it spans a large area of time and
Yeah.
across the United States and back in the 30s and 40s.
Didn't they find a dream catcher in a car that had crashed 30 years before, and they didn't find the man?
There were 2 dream catchers in that car.
2, that's right.
There was no dust on the dream catchers. They looked like
Yeah, brand
they
new.
were just made and had been sitting at the bottom of that ravine for years.
With
and
the
years and
skeleton
years.
of the
With
man.
the skeleton of the driver in it.
Yeah, because the dream catcher killed everybody that it came in contact with.
No, you had to sleep under it. You had to hang it
Yeah.
and sleep under it. And whatever your nightmare was, watch out.
I know, and whatever your nightmare was
Was going to kill you.
going to kill you. Stan, you were a bad, bad man.
Yeah, a little weird.
No.
Yeah, so we got this one out of the way,
Yeah.
and then it was time to go back and pick up Fate Resolution. And I couldn't think of a good name. And Resolution, well, it resolves the issues that weren't covered in the original book.
Right.
So it picks up right where it left off. Now, I was going to call it Fate 7 More Days, but,
Oh, that's good too.
well, it turned out to be 7.5 more days anyway. But
Yeah.
it gets in there. It gets rid. There's none of the helicopter stuff in there. This is just strictly. It's FBI. It's HPD. It's several different things that all mesh.
When they finally discover what is really going on, what happens, Stan?
When they discover,
Yeah, who?
well, let's just say that a mob boss in Los Angeles is involved in something. There's a hitman that they hire to go kill an individual because there's somebody that was on the plane. The last part of this book, the plane, the Fate 7 Days in January, plane takes off with the nice couple on board. They're going back to get their affairs in order back in San Francisco so they can move out to Hawaii because they're taking over a marina and a hotel. And someone puts a bomb on the plane. Mm-hmm. And it's to kill Ben and Kate, our favorite couple. Mm-hmm. And again, since it's fate,
Fate always steps in.
fate steps in, and there's an issue with the bomb, and it goes from there. And now you got the FBI involved.
Yeah.
Several things. There's a hitman on his way to kill one of the people that was also on that plane, who just happens to be someone's father that had been missing for years. And so you learn a little bit about him, what went on there. And then you meet the hitman, who's quite a classy guy. He's very smart. He's very precise. He's very good at what he does. He even scared me a couple of times. But
The writer.
and on it goes. And finally, he's found out who he's going to kill, and extra people show up, and
Fate steps in.
none of them can help him. And and there's even a dog in that book too.
Of
It's
course there's a
Weimaraner.
dog.
And so you find out a little bit more about the breed.
Yeah.
But and then at the end, it gets wrapped up into a nice little package. And I wanted to keep going. I wanted to put a little bit more in there, but
We
decided
always
I
do.
stopped at that.
Yeah.
If I'd gone back and gone through it one more time, it probably would have had.
And you want, what else can I add? And there comes a time when you got to stop.
And I reached that
Yeah.
point. And just said, this is the place to end it, and tied up all those loose ends. So there will not be a sequel after that.
I want it on the shaman.
I do too, and that is going to be tough. That is probably.
Why do you think it's going to be tough? Because of the White House stuff you need to research? What period?
You have to know certain things. Okay,
Yeah.
see, it's still in the future. I mean, it's the White House. Actually, and this is ironic, I think of 2017.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was funny. Well, when I was writing this, that was
Yeah.
way in the future, so not several years in the future. It didn't matter.
Well, can you
But,
extend that out?
A little hard to go back in the book and change it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So anyway, There's all kinds of things you have to know. I'm not as familiar with streets in the capital area
Well,
as I
then
should
you
be.
and Bobby will have to go and do research. I'll go Google Maps.
Yeah, but it's funny. I think there's another way to do it, and
Yeah.
I've got a route to go. I just have to come up with all those ingredients in between, because there is a dream catcher and a green dream catcher that is not just a feathered thing. This one can walk and talk.
Yes. Oy, 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 oy.
And he's already got a lot of power.
I think we're going to have to do something with that child.
The child will be doing something. I guarantee the child
No,
will
I
be.
mean, really, we have to. I don't want to say this about another child, but I mean, eventually.
What are you saying?
Yeah.
You can have the CIA come take you out, huh?
No.
Yeah, it's that was I got to that point and said, "Ooh,
Yeah.
uh-oh.
Now what?
Now with those powers, if he can manipulate
Harness
your thoughts."
them. I know.
So-
Not good, Stan.
So yeah, I may have backed myself into a corner on that one.
Yeah, and it's a shame because that book is so well written and so entertaining.
Yeah, one of my cohorts, he put a review in Amazon, and he said, "Don't read this at night."
Yeah, don't read it
and
at night.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And
Because it feels real. It feels plausible. The whole thing is maybe logical is not but you have a logical way of writing. You're an engineer.
not an engineer, but
You
I've got a
have
lot of-
that mind.
I do a lot of engineering on my own. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it's detail. It's all about details.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from the military. You're detail oriented. Bobby would say sometimes I'm not detail oriented enough.
Well, it depends on what. Now, Kenny looks laid back, right?
Yeah.
He's not. He's very pointed and detailed oriented. He won't let me iron because I don't do it right. He irons. And if I touch one thing on his desk, he knows it's moved, and he gets upset and asks me, what did I just throw out? And it's a detail-oriented type of individual. I am too, but not to that degree,
Well, it's
Bobby's saying she's agreeing.
oh,
Stan's way is the right way, and that's
Absolutely.
Kenny is the same. Yeah.
I'm going to hear about that on the way home also.
Yeah.
But she doesn't hit that hard.
No hitting involved.
Oh, and that's the other thing. When we raised Hildy's last litter, I mean, they were 3 days old, and we brought them home. We met the breeder at a dog show in Providence,
Yeah.
and she gave us the puppies, the whelping box, and everything. Here's everything you need. Go.
Oy.
And Easter Sunday morning, we had the puppies in there. They got to have a lot of heat. It's got to be at least 85 degrees inside the whelping
Real?
box, which is down on the floor.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what the temperature is in that room
Yeah.
at head height? Mm-hmm. We were alternating because Hildy would lay down on one of the puppies and it would start squeaking. So one of us would hop up.
Yeah.
And I don't know what time it was. It must have been 5 o'clock in the morning or 6. You hear this puppy crying, and Bobby says, "I'll go." And she disappears, and all at once I hear this strange sound, and then ka-whump. And I said, "Are you okay?" "No."
Oh.
Went in there, and she had started to fall over from the heat. She'd started to fall over into the whelping box, and she didn't want to fall on the puppy, so she stuck her arm out, slid down the wall, came down, and her elbow hit right on the 2x12 edge.
Oh, dear God.
Broke her elbow.
Oh.
And
Pain.
Easter Sunday morning,
Yeah.
we go in there. Okay, off they go. How did this happen? Well, she was in and leaning over the whelping box, came over,
You beat
and I'm
her.
sitting out.
Yeah.
So this nurse comes out and talks to me first and says, well, now how did this happen? And she's taking notes.
Yeah.
And then the doctor comes out and
Yeah.
he takes notes. It finally dawned on me. They think I did it.
Yeah.
And I think they asked you, did your husband?
Yes.
And I can't get out of their sight. They got an eye on me the whole time. But the police never showed up, so.
Yeah. They believed you.
I guess
It's amazing, but I guess they have to do it.
Once I thought about it, it was okay with me.
Yeah, but it makes you feel awful. I mean, I always feel awful when they ask me.
Well, if I was going to lie about that, you think I could make up a story like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we have these puppies that they
Yeah.
haven't been here, and then she fell over because the room was
Yeah.
so hot, and then she broke her elbow.
But
Yeah,
it's
I
a
believe
good
that.
thing that they do because women, they don't,
Oh, I agree, and
they're afraid.
And I look back, if they hadn't done that, I think I would have been upset.
Yeah, but you don't think about it.
No, you don't.
Until they come and ask you.
And that realization that, oh, I'm a
Yeah.
suspect
Yeah,
is just incredible.
they just have to do it.
Because the person's going to deny it anyway. No, I didn't do that. I didn't lay a hand on her.
How long did it take you to write the shaman story?
We were driving home from the mall, and I knew how it was going to end.
Yeah,
But
to
I
start.
took about a year.
A year.
Yeah, and I needed bits and pieces, and the stuff I needed, people just gave to me. I had a stress test. I had a heart attack several years before. I could not find a decent picture of a golden eagle. I needed to know exactly what a golden eagle looked like because it's critical to the book. I'm on a stress test, and it's up on the big angle, and the lady's standing by ready to inject the nuclide. And I looked up, and in front of me, it'd been there the whole time, there's all the North American
Eagles?
species that are threatened.
Yeah.
Right in front of me is the golden eagle.
Oh, now see?
And I said,
Now
oh,
that,
look! And the doctor said, you okay? You okay? They're getting ready to check my blood pressure again. He says, is it 1 minute up? Do you want him to inject? And I went, no, it's a golden eagle. And they're going, what? I said, I'm looking for a golden eagle.
I need that.
And
Yeah.
and that's it. So I just go ahead and inject it. You know,
Yeah.
we're never going to figure this out.
But the eagle came to you.
Yeah,
See?
Yeah, but she would hand me a news clipping
Yeah.
of something
Yeah.
that I didn't really care about, but right next to it was a piece of this that I couldn't find anywhere. And there it was in the article right next to it. I was flying back from I can't remember where it was, but anyway. Oh yeah, I do know where it was. Yeah, I was flying back from my grandson's graduation from the Army
nice.
combat school. And I'm sitting there going through this, and I'm looking at it on my computer, and the lady next to me is looking over there, and she said, Lakota? And I said, yes. And she said, well, what is this? And I said, it's a book I'm writing. And I said, it's about the, Lakota or Sioux. And she goes, I know, I'm an expert on Lakotas.
Oh,
That's
see?
what I do.
She was sent to you too.
And she said, do you mind if I look through this?
Yeah.
And I turned to the page and said, start right there.
Yeah.
And she went through it. She said, wow, you've done your research.
Right.
And I said, but I had to change some wording when they told the story. I didn't go verbatim from the information that I had. And I said, so I put it into my own words and think I got the meaning across. And she said, yeah, that's fine. There's no problem with that. And then she wouldn't buy a book.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that's
She said, I'll
not-
give you a card. And then she got it out and everything, and then she forgot, and we're trying to get off the plane and lost track of her. So, but it was funny, though. But that just went on and on. The whole construction of this book was
Where
like that.
did you get him?
I couldn't find. I actually went to Plymouth South, and this was right before they were the movie lot set up.
Oh, sure.
And I asked the art teacher if she could have a contest. They wanted to do a contest, and I
Good.
said, "Could you do a cover? I need to have an Indian with a headdress. I need to have a couple, and I can kind of give you a description. And I kind of need to have a guy with very short hair and slight oriental appearance to put on the very front of it. And everything fell apart, and then she never got back to me. So when I sent it off, I said, "This is what I'm looking for," and that's what they found.
They found that. Let me see that again.
And
because he's
that's
beautiful.
a real, yeah.
That's a real
yeah.
Native American. He's beautiful.
So I was just amazed when it came in the mail, because I didn't get a preview or anything. They sent the proof book, and I just looked at the front and went,
"That's it."
Wow.
Wow.
I'm so glad that it's that and not, what I was thinking about. Although it would have been nice if one of the students could have done that and gotten credit for it in the very front. I mean,
were they receptive to that?
They were.
That's good.
And I said, "Come back to me, and I'll lay out, what I would like to see." And I guess things got hectic, and so that fell through. But I thought that was that was a win-win for just about everybody.
That's great.
And but when I saw that, I just said, "This can't get any better."
That's it. I loved that. And how long did it take you to write these two?
7 days in January. Took me about a year and a half, because part-time, and you add this, you add that.
And that was your second
book, yeah.
Second book.
Now, Resolution was less than that. It went fast. It fell in
Right,
place.
because you had everything almost
set up, and it was just a
up.
continuation. And I just, I don't go through and do an outline. I go through and work to a point. I know
That's
I'm going to
how
go
I
down
do
there, but I'm going to work my way. I don't say da.
I have always always the end, always in my head. And I have parts of the middle, and I have to really think about how to start it. That is because I've got 50 million ways to start it, and that is the problem. And finally, when I settle, it all just flows. Now, paw prints all over me must have just poured out of you.
Poured out of her.
Yeah.
Like I say, we were going to dinner, and there's the title of the book, because I didn't have a title. I'd already started writing it, but
yeah.
And so that was incredible. And then I took one of the dogs, the little dog, put her foot down, inked it, put it down. But they don't look like that. I had to go in there and fix it. So I made it clear cut, but that was really funny. And then you notice I covered up my face with paw prints, because paw prints is all over me.
Yes.
Mostly over my head. But, so I just had fun.
This is funny book, Paw Prints. This so well written, and it just keeps you at the edge of your seat. Fate in 7 Days in January also did that. Kept you at the edge of your seat.
Yeah, but in retrospect, the helicopter segment took up a lot of space. I mean, I'm sure you got to that and went, "Oh, crap." No,
No, because there were parts in it that were upsetting to know that they might crash. And as a writer, I had to know what was going on.
And obviously, I didn't know what was said in the Coast Guard helicopter, because all 3 people died. But I know basically what they said. And I know that they launched in weather that they should not have launched on. And it was a bogus emergency radio call anyway. So those 3 people were killed.
For nothing.
For nothing.
Yeah.
And this was right after the air traffic control strike in Hawaii. So the air traffic controllers weren't watching certain things.
Yeah. So you even thought of that. I mean, so you have to be detail oriented. In my book, when I came to the section of stealing my own car, because I wasn't allowed to have it, but taking it out, and it was one of these taking it out from the barn, and it was a Studebaker, and how you started it with your foot on the floor, and this
Yeah.
and that, and blah, blah, blah. But I made my book funny. It was real. It happened, but I made it funny because that's what I like to do. And that part was detailed but funny. And it was mainly fun made it me. So I enjoy that. And, you know, I've been told to make it longer. I don't want to. You know, I think I'll ruin it if I do. And because we want to read more, you know, they'll say. And I just don't have it in me. I would have to add things that I, you know, don't want to add.
And that's the part. It's like make a movie, a lot of it ends up on the cutting room floor.
Right.
And if you can write it and not put that extra stuff in, but at some point in
Right.
time you sneak that in and maybe it takes off on its own, and that's kind of what that helicopter did.
Well, you know, I have a
Takes off on
friend
its
in
own.
California, and he is a big time producer and writer. And I brought my book there, and he loved it. His name is Chris Alberghini, a Plymouth boy.
Ah.
And I'm always asking Chris to read one thing or another. I think we should send this to him.
I could do that.
Do you
know,
think?
it's a formatting nightmare. Have you ever looked at a script?
Please, yes.
Oh,
He called me out. He paid for the trip. He put me in first class. His mother was going out too, and he wanted me to be there. Put us up at right on the Fox lot in a 5-star hotel. And oh my God, I hear the music. And I did get to see how scripts and everything are made. Stan, let me see what I can do about this. And
Okay.
I will ask on your behalf. And can I take this home just
Oh,
and
of
I'll
course.
give it back?
sure.
And-
You don't have to give it back.
And I want to send this to him. I thank you so much. You know I love you.
I know. I love being here. It's fun.
Anytime, Stan and Bobby too. I love you. We find out tomorrow when Ken is going to be operated on. So we probably won't be here. We'll rerun. Love you. See you.